Hi, I am Rose, and you are watching The Sovereign Soul. I am a nervous system and soul guide supporting you to reconnect to your eternal self and reclaim soul freedom. I want to talk about spiritual slavery again today and understanding that your soul's energy is being harvested and the soul being trapped on earth and in an energy grid that supports and surrounds it, which means that even after you die, your soul's energy still doesn't belong to you. The energy that we produce within the slavery has been coined by a guy called Robert Monroe. He called this energy loosh. And loosh is basically a food for parasitic beings that control Earth. And to be quite honest, I think it goes far beyond Earth and the matrix of Earth. There's another amazing woman called Isabella Green, and she talks about the energy going beyond Earth, still controlling this whole picture as the greater matrix. And so remember, within any matrix, there are matrices. And in a sense, maybe Earth's one is just another matrix within a matrix. And I say this because loosh, or this energy, our soul's energy, comes from both positive and negative emotions. The soul emits energy through emotional responses. And both of these energies are being harvested and fed off. And this is why the greater matrix, per se, is also in on this. It's also a part of all of this. And what allows our energy to be fed off is our own level of consciousness. By not knowing ourselves and knowing ourselves as oneness, we are living in some form of separation from our whole self. And in this, we actually give up power of our soul and the energy of our soul. And in a sense, we willingly, yet unwillingly, are giving the energy which belongs to us away. So, like I said, how deeply and truly you know yourself, this determines your consciousness. So when you know yourself as a whole, you're not going to be giving your energy away because you know it belongs to you. And you also know that nothing needs your energy in order for it to survive because it is whole too. So what determines the consciousness is basically the emotional state of the being and your relationship to that emotional state. And I would also say your relationship to the whole and separation. And that is really what determines your consciousness. So how deeply you truly know yourself. And within dimensions of consciousness, there is also a sliding scale. So let's say dimensions of consciousness are a scale of knowing yourself. So we can go from 3 up till, say, let's just give it 15. But within those levels or dimensions of consciousness and knowing self, there is still an ability for them to be infiltrated with disempowerment. In other words, making any being believe that it is less than whole, which is disempowering, and then in themselves believing that any being is less than whole, and including themselves, because thinking that they need that being's energy, so that it needs to feed on loosh in order for it to feel better, whether it feels like it needs to be helping, whether it feels like it, needs to be superior in any way, shape, or form, but not seeing beings as completely and entirely whole is a separation consciousness. And in that, there is always this parasitic ability within that relationship. So separation is not knowing yourself, knowing the self. I rather say knowing the self. It's so funny because the ego is all about self and being separated. Yet when you know yourself, you actually know that there's fuck all separation. And that's just so ironic that that's how it works. But unity consciousness is the return to oneness. So everyone and everything is whole. In other words, you see nothing lacking from anyone or anything. Nothing needs saving or rescuing from a higher dimension perspective of consciousness. And from a lower dimension of consciousness, you're not going to take from anything that is lower than you in consciousness and understanding, just because you know that it is actually whole and not lower than you. So there's equality, there's consciousness equality, and therefore this feeding frenzy that has been occurring for millennia and maybe millions of years. I don't know what that would be, because I know you get centuries and millennia, but whatever. It wouldn't exist. It wouldn't need to exist, because everybody would know themselves. And that's pretty fucking amazing when you can really connect to the knowing of this energy. So if I can give it another analogy, instead of thinking that we are in a matrix and that in a sense there's a Neo that's going to save us, you realize that you are Neo, meaning you can save yourself, and you are also the matrix. So there again, that's more of a understanding of what non-separation means. If you take space and time out of the whole equation and you see the whole picture, you realize that you're both, you Neo and the matrix. And then if you want to take it a step wider than that, expand on that understanding, because this is only looking at an earth matrix of slavery, and you want to free yourself beyond that, then from a unity consciousness perspective, you understand that Neo, the matrix, the greater matrix, and all of existence are actually in you. You are not in it. But at the same time, it is in you just as you are in it. So yes, that's a pretty big thing to try and get our heads around, to fully and completely grasp and understand. I think it's taken me a while to kind of just catch a beat on that. That's like, whoa, really got to get my head around something so massive, but very, very beautiful too. So I think the most important thing that I want to convey within this little message, which hopefully isn't going to carry on for too much longer, is that your soul's energy is the most valuable thing that you own. Your soul has the capacity to be energy of an eternal number of suns. If I could try and give you some analogy to the energy that you hold within you. And the beauty of your soul is that nothing else can own it. Something else can have authority and autonomy and use over its energy. So stop your autonomy, but nothing can own it. It belongs to you. It will always only belong to you. So nothing can destroy it. You have to willingly give up the energy it's producing to something else, whether it was conscious or unconscious, in order for it to have that authority over you and start using your soul's energy. So to know yourself is to take full ownership and responsibility of your own soul and your own soul's energy. So you're no longer going to be a slave victim. You're no longer going to be like naive or ignorant to the fact that your energy belongs to you. You start understanding your own emotions and your own soul within this human experience, so that you can start building this relationship back to your soul and allowing your soul to guide you back to your own divinity. Because Earth is a soul energy harvesting farm, and I believe that that energy gets used beyond Earth. And we have given that energy away, and we have allowed our consciousness to be hijacked. So when I say that, it means that most people are living not knowing themselves, and therefore living in this low dimension of consciousness, because something has been hijacked within us. But that's not entirely, it's not non-reversible. So in order to stop spiritual slavery, you have to know yourself and heal your relationship to your soul, reconnect to your divinity and eternal consciousness. And that blueprint is within you, because your soul knows the way home. So even though the consciousness has been hijacked through your own awareness and your own empowerment and knowing what you have within you, that you don't need anything outside of yourself to be whole, just as nothing needs anything to be whole, you can start awakening consciousness that is within you. It already exists within you. And the blueprint within the body sits within our DNA. And that's another video for another day. I have a free resource library for personal and spiritual development, which is full of courses, books, guided meditations, and energy healings. The link is in the description. And like I say, it's completely free access. Okay, so that is it for the video of today.